I am on. You know it.
I'm on. Estoy on.
Hi guys, I'm on. Ci sono.
I'm on. Je suis on.
I am on. My home.
I'm on. Ich bin on.
สวัสดีค่ะ ไปด้วยกันนะคะ
I'm on. Estoy conectado.
I'm on. Estamos on.
Saya on.
I'm on. Let's go.
Let's be on.
Hello, my name is Chris White, and it's my great pleasure, on behalf of everyone here at FruitNet, to welcome you to today's Asia Briefing. Asia Briefing is our brand new series of 6 special broadcasts that we're putting together here at FruitNet to give you the lowdown on what's hot and what's not in Asia at the moment. So today and over the next 6 weeks, I'll be joined down the line from our new broadcast studio here in London with my team of expert editors and analysts. They live and breathe Asia every day of the year. And of course, we're going to be joined by you, businessmen and women from across the world of fresh fruits and vegetables who deal with Asia or who want to deal with Asia. Now, the good news is all that you need to join is an internet connection and an hour of your precious time. We want you to spare us your time right now and then once every week through this month of October and the first 2 weeks of November. And come November, that's when the real action starts. Now, yes, I know, in any normal year, we'd already have been to Asia for Asia Fruit Logistica. That's where you wanted to be, that's where I wanted to be at the start of September. In fact, the start of last month was the first time in almost 20 years that I wasn't in Asia or travelling to and from Asia. And you know what? I miss it. We all miss it. It's this damn COVID crisis that stopped us all from travelling, but it won't stop us from meeting, even if this year it has to be in 2 dimensions, down an internet connection on our computer screens. You heard at our launch event last week how Asia Fruit Logistica and Asia Fruit Congress have had to go digital this year too. It's been forced upon us. Now, like me, the last 6 months and more have been wall-to-wall Zoom meetings, more than we perhaps care to remember. And that's why we're determined that Asia Fruit Logistica on and Asia Fruit Congress on aren't going to feel like just another Zoom meeting. We're really excited about the technology that we're getting ready for our event in November. It's designed to bring together this big, wide world of fresh fruits and vegetables. This is where the fresh produce business is meeting this year, at Asia Fruit Logistica on and at Asia Fruit Congress on. And to set you up for this November's week of online events, me and my team at FruitNet have put together for you a series of Asia briefings. We want these weekly broadcasts, which you can watch when and where you want, to be your primer to what's hot and what's not in Asia this season. We're going to be broadcasting these live at 2:30 p.m. Singapore China time every Wednesday and engaging in a debate on social media with some of our expert speakers and panelists about what you're watching. So get your mobiles ready and get interacting. I'll be telling you more about how to do that in a moment. So to today's Asia briefing. It's all about cherries, and cherries is that one hero product that we all know about that's really taken the Asia market by storm over the last number of years. It's become a hugely important category, if not the most important category in many ways, in China in recent years, especially in that period up to Chinese New Year. We've got a mix of special guests from around the world who are going to talk to us today about what's happening in the cherry business in Asia. And of course, we've got the insight and analysis from our team of experts here at FruitNet.
Demand for cherries is booming in Asia. China is driving that boom, and it's changing the shape of the global trade. China's seemingly insatiable demand for cherries has become emblematic of the purchasing power of Chinese consumers. Online sales are fueling China's cherry boom. Last year, Chinese netizens coined the term cherry freedom to describe their ability to buy pricey imported cherries without a second thought. Cherry freedom became a new standard for wealth and a way to playfully lament their own poverty amid rising living costs. More than 200,000 tonnes of cherries are now shipped across the Pacific from Chile to China over a 2-month period each year. It's become the world's largest cherry trade route, and it's growing every year. Much of this volume feeds demand for Chinese New Year. Red is synonymous with good luck and prosperity, according to Chinese tradition, and cherries are a prized gift during the New Year festivities. China is by no means the only market in Asia that's growing its appetite for cherries. Korea and Taiwan now rank in the world's top 10 markets. Markets across Southeast Asia are also growing their demand off a lower base. And Vietnam has become a rising star in the region for cherry shippers from the US and other regions. Even India is starting to develop a taste for the so-called diamond of fruits. But today we turn the focus on China. How is its booming demand changing the global cherry trade? How is Chile preparing for its new season campaign in China under the cloud of COVID-19? What potential is there to further grow consumption across the vast market that is China? And how is competition heating up to supply the market in China as other exporting nations gain access? We'll talk to world-leading suppliers and to some of China's top importers and retailers about how they see the current and future shape of the market. China is also growing its own cherries, and we'll look at some of the exciting investments to upgrade domestic production to meet Chinese consumer demand for high-quality cherries whenever they want. We'll also look at another game changer for the cherry industry, namely technology in the pack house. New sorters and sizers have enabled cherry growers to grade out the biggest and best fruit and secure a premium in China and other markets. We'll hear from one of the pioneers of grading technology about the innovations set to further disrupt the business and about the role this will play in driving Asia's cherry boom. So get ready for 1 hour of high-impact, high-quality insights about the future of Asia's booming cherry market.
So it's the statistics that tell the story. Let's go to our statsman, Wayne Prowse of Fresh Intelligence Consulting, to hear more. Wayne.
Cherries have seen spectacular growth in Asian markets, particularly around Chinese New Year. Now here's a chart showing the growth trend of cherry imports by Asian markets since 2001 compared to global cherry trade and the fresh fruit imports into Asian markets over that same period. Not bad growth statistics. In the markets, and it's China that's importing 230,000 tonnes of cherries last year. That's up 30%. South Korea has imported 16,000 tonnes, 11,000 to Taiwan and 4,000 to Japan. But in Southeast Asia, markets like Malaysia, Thailand and Vietnam have all seen very strong growth off small volumes. Singapore's down a little, while India and Indonesia are still very small players in the cherry market. And to the suppliers now, and all eyes are on Chile. Chile as they start their 2021 season. Last year, they exported 250,000 tonnes of cherries across the Pacific into Asian markets, mostly into China. This year, they're expecting at least another 12% increase in supply. Australia and New Zealand were down a little last season and are also expecting increased production and supply this year. The northern markets, from May to July, it's the United States that exported 50,000 tonnes to Asian markets last year, up about 25%. But we're all very interested watching Turkey, the world's largest producer of cherries, increase their footprint in Asia. They now have access to China, and we expect to see a lot more volume heading that way from Turkey. That's the cherry wrap.
And so to cherries at a global level. We've been very lucky to speak to Matt Hancock, Managing Director at Norton Folgate, a specialist cherry importer and distributor of more than 30 years, about some of the big trends that are happening in the global cherry market, and more specifically about how Asia has really changed the dynamic of the market in recent years. Matt, welcome to Asia Briefing. Explain to us in more detail about some of the trends that are happening at a global level in cherries.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for including me on what proves, I'm sure, will be a very interesting event and very well organised on your part in testing times. So in terms of global trends on cherries, I think the key thing that we are seeing is an evolution, if you like, in terms of fruit size. So, if we look back a decade or so ago, we would have seen a lot of 22 and 24 mil size fruit being sold and grown around the world. And we've seen that 22 millimetre size band virtually disappear from the marketplace. And even the 24 mil size fruit is slowly also in decline. And, the value is clearly in large size, high quality cherries. People are prepared to pay premiums for that. And that's really the focus in terms of where the grower base around the world is, in terms of really producing high quality, large size cherries. Mm-hmm. And then the other sort of interesting thing, and this has been sort of everybody that's been in the cherry business for a long time's holy grail, is really, can we get to 52 weeks and cracking the 52-week nut? And so the focus on season extensions is continued. I mean, as you said earlier on, I've been involved in cherries for quite a long time, and that really is an ongoing process in terms of global trend. We're seeing it in the US, much later fruit coming into it's almost a second peak coming into the month of August now. The Canadians are going later and higher up in Creston and around Kelowna, up in the mountains. We're seeing in Chile some early windows of production closer to Santiago, but particularly down in Osorno and down in Patagonia and the southern regions, big increases in hectares planted down there that are really affecting the market in a tangible way. Argentina as well, close to the Andes. There are some late season projects down there that are really going well into February now. And then on the European side of things, we're seeing a similar trend in terms of Scottish cherries. Who would have thought we'd be growing and picking cherries in Scotland 10, 15 years ago? We're seeing it in South Africa, so really the early districts north of Johannesburg, with the new zygote varieties being planted up there and actually making those work. So that this is fruits coming into the market in the month of October, which again was 5 years ago. There were really no cherries of any volume available in the month of October. So that change is having a material impact on the market. It's still relatively small in these spring and autumn months, but it's gathering momentum, and every year we're seeing development in that area. And this is all done through. Sorry, Chris. This is all done through varieties. So some of the new varietal sort of varietal selections that are available, and also combined with locations and finding new locations where we can actually be right on the extremities of climate and what is possible in terms of growing cherries, and exploring all these things.
Now, you've talked about these big changes in production. Can you tell us something about new varieties? What developments have there been when it comes to varieties?
I think in cherries, it's been a relatively slow process. Obviously, we've got if you look at the berry category, it's a very dynamic business, a very dynamic category when it comes to varieties, because obviously they're in the main annual crops or relatively short sort of cycle type crops. Obviously with cherries, really to get meaningful development, you're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8 years before you've got some really solid commercial data with which to then go to market. But we have started seeing some really quite interesting things coming out in Northern Europe, from the likes of Peter Stoppel or the GRAB programs in Germany, that look like really good late season and a couple of early season varieties that are there. The University of Bologna has also come up with some early season varieties, as well as the work that's sort of historically been ongoing in California, whether it be Zyger or Bradford, focusing on the early releases. And it's a sort of continuous drip feed of material that's been released. Obviously, some are get planted and then discover they don't particularly work that well, and then for every sort of 100 varieties that come out there might be 3 or 4 real winners, but that takes a lot of time. But there is some material out there that's quite exciting at the moment. We've also seen the Steve Southwick series being planted much more widely now. We're even seeing some of the Southwick varieties being planted in the UK to replace some of the early merchant and less good quality varieties that we'll be looking for. So it's a sort of constant, quite dynamic thing, but it's not as fast as other categories.
Of course, I guess the game changer in the cherry business has been the growth of demand in Asia. What have been the implications of this change in demand in Asia?
I think the implications of it, obviously, are sort of far and wide. You've got this incredible phenomena of this demand that's created out of Asia. It's been very good for the Latin Americans, Chileans and Argentinians now that most of Argentina has direct market access to China. Australasia has also benefited. Both the Aussies and the New Zealand growers have done well out of it. I would say the Chileans were the most proactive in terms of, as that market started to emerge, they were the first to plant, first to get the direct access into China. They had all the right trade agreements in place. So they've really, risen to the challenge, if you like, and gone for it. They've probably also taken some of the biggest risks, and there's the risk reward side of things has been right on a knife edge and continues to be up to this day. Whether it's really with all this fruit, this 80 million cartons or whatever the final number proves to be that's in the ground, actually can the Asian markets absorb all this fruit, and will they be able to do it? So far, it appears that they have. But also the Canadians have also benefited out of it. With the Trump and the Trump situation and the sort of tariff trade war with China, where the US has suffered, the Canadians have continued to be allowed to go in there, and they've benefited significantly out of a pretty much open window on their late season fruit. So nobody knows the limits of this market at the moment. It's we keep testing it and it keeps responding. So far, so good.
Yeah, that must have tightened supplies to other markets. What effect has that had for you as someone operating in the UK, here in Europe?
Well, it's been quite tough for the last 6 or 7 years, where Chinese returns have been very, very strong, particularly in the jumbo and super jumbo sizes where we're competing for that larger size fruit. But even we've seen it on the 24 mil fruit now. The .com business has really taken off in that part of the world, and they're prepared to take the slightly smaller size fruit. So now, which we used to be our sort of holy territory that we could kind of we played in that space, and now they're also playing in a similar space. So we've had that pressure. I think the US has seen a similar pressure. So basically, the traditional retail markets have found it tough because the retail sector is far less elastic in terms of its price ability to change quickly. We've got to stick to pretty rigid price points to make the business work. Otherwise, it becomes unviable. But I think there's been a combination and a meeting of minds in the last probably 2 seasons where the European and British retailers have maybe been more accepting to to be more flexible on price or reduce pack weight slightly to make the business work. And at the same time, I think the Chilean and Latin American grower base have also seen that perhaps they don't want to have all their eggs in one basket, and actually diversifying their business a little bit is also no bad thing, and be a bit more flexible in terms of the prices they're prepared to accept. So we've seen a bit of a meeting of minds there.
Now, I know that you as a business have started to grow and export cherries from the UK, even exporting cherries as far as Hong Kong. Is Asia realistically a market for you in the future?
I think, listen, we've looked hard and had many discussions internally about this. And I think despite our higher costs of production versus the US or other Eurozone countries of origin, I think there is always a place, particularly in those discerning markets, for big size, high quality, really good niche products. And I think the nearest comparison I'd give it to you, if you look at New Zealand and Australia, which have a very similar dynamic when they compete with Chile, they have far higher costs of social costs. Their picking costs are even higher than ours in the UK, and yet they consistently perform in China. They have their sort of bijou clients, their boutique businesses, which are actually quite big in themselves, and they sell decent volumes of fruit, and they succeed in sitting alongside the Chilean product, which may be at slightly lower values, going into a sort of more mass market. So I think it's quite a similar comparison in terms of what we're doing. I think the other thing that's very strong is that brand Britain really resonates in a lot of these countries, and actually people like the story. It's a bit unusual, it's a bit quirky. How long that continues for remains to be seen, but there's a novelty factor, and brand Britain is quite strong.
Now we're going to be speaking in a moment to Hernan Garces, your friend from Chile and a supplier to you. Tell us, how do you see the China market, and explain some of the impact you see it's been having on the cherry business globally?
Well, listen, our view on China, it's been an incredible rollercoaster ride for all the participants who've really kind of been involved in a big way, of which Garces have been a major part. I think it's often defied traditional produce commercial logic, if you like. This notion that you can produce more and the prices go up. I can't think of another category that has happened to. That we've seen that consistently, and I think you have to remember there are still many cities and consumers to go after, particularly when you look further west within the interior of China. The business so far has been focused very much on the East Coast and the major markets, kind of Shanghai and Guangzhou's and the sort of traditional markets. And businesses like Garces have really been focusing on putting resource in country to actually develop the next phase, if you like, of the new cities. So I think, whilst it frustrates the hell out of me because of getting availability for fruit for a European business, it is an incredible piece of business, and I can't think of another category within produce that has been so successful, and really to the extent that it has been in terms of defying established commercial sort of fruit commercial logic. So COVID concerns. That's obviously a little bit of a shake-up last year in terms of back end of the season. People are a little bit worried, but I think fundamentally that the core sort of future still is pretty solid, and it remains to be seen where is that saturation point in China. I think once that point does start to be exposed, then it will be a game around. The survivors will be the ones who can consistently arrive with really good quality fruit, because it needs to be good quality over there.
Okay, Matt, thanks. That's really great. Thank you very much indeed for joining us today on Asia Briefing.
Thanks for your time.
So let's look in more detail at China. And we were very lucky to speak to Hernan Garces. Hernan runs the biggest export company of cherries out of Chile, and it happens also to be one of the biggest importers of cherries in China, where they distribute all across the country. We spoke to Hernan at his offices overlooking the Huangpu River in Shanghai.
As you know, last year the whole industry was affected by the pandemic. As cherry growers, we were affected at very late in the season, so close to 19% of the total cherry production from Chile was affected. Having said that, in the early stage of the season, we saw very good pricing for our products, and that helped us to have an overall return quite good for the whole industry. For this season, we are expecting close to 10% more volume compared to last season. There's many new orchards coming into production. We are very expectant about this season. It's going to be a year of uncertainty. After our last year end, we took many measures in order to give good results to our growers in Chile. Worldwide, this pandemic is not fully controlled, as we all know. As a company, we are working in many areas. One of them is that we are growing in the packing capacity to make sure we are able to pack the fruit on time so we can get the good quality for our consumers in China and around the world. We are also very focused on automation of our each steps in our packing house. So we have heavy investment plans there in order to avoid contact between workers. On top of that, thanks to our presence here in China, we have a better knowledge of the market, and we can allocate and diversify our offer within all main China. As a company, we're also taking many measures in line with what international authorities and national authorities have been taking. We are very focused on new implementations to avoid contagions at the packing houses and the orchards. We are trying to make higher standards in order to give confidence to our workers for this season, and of course we gotta avoid all the contagions. China is very hard to predict. Even every year we heavily prepare for the season. There's always some surprises that may come up. There's new channels evolving, new cities growing. So what are we going to make different this season? We are exploring new channels. As Garces Fruit, we have the office here in China, which I lead since 2017. And our job has been to focus on exploring new cities, getting into new markets, opening these markets, starting with small volumes, and we have been growing year to year. And also we are heavily working with the new channels, the e-commerce. We kind of expect this season to focus more on the e-commerce. I think there's a big growth potential there, and of course in the whole retail environment. We are also exploring all these social platforms, which in China there are many of those. So we have a marketing team here where we try to show our country how beautiful it is to all the Chinese consumers, and we are trying to get some interaction, some feedback at the same time on our products so we can make better for the future. Within the consumption this year, the demand this year in China, we are heavily focused on mainland China, as you said, but we also do have customers, of course, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea. It's been growing for the last 5 years, and even India. So we are exploring those markets, but so far all our focus and our growing plan is focused on China. The varieties, the flavor that these consumer wants, and also the formats in terms of packaging. Everything so far is being focused in China. We are traveling a lot here. We're getting into new cities, each city, each province here must be taken as a whole country with different preferences, different kind of consumers, different tastes. So there's still a lot of potential here. There's a lot to be learned for the whole industry in China.
Our Latin America editor, Mara Maxwell, spoke to Adolfo Storni from Argentina about how Argentina is exporting cherries now to Asia.
Yeah, so welcome, Adolfo.
Hello, good morning.
Hello. Okay, so last year, I believe you became one of the first Argentinian companies to export cherries to China following the signing of the new import protocol in 2018. How did that go, and what are you planning for the coming season?
Yes, that's correct. We have done our first official export to China last year. The year before, a couple of exporters from Argentina sent the first 8 containers. And then last year, China became one of the 2 main destinations for our fruit, together with the American market. So last year, I would say that in general, the experience was very positive because the consumers and our customers were very satisfied with the quality received. Of course, the last 50 containers, they suffered logistics problems because they arrived from the end of January until March, and they found a very difficult market and a lot of issues with people working in the import companies, in the port, etc. So it was not easy for the last 50 containers, but all the fruit was sold without a problem, and in general terms, I would say that our fruit received a premium price. The Argentine origin was very welcome, and consumers were very happy with the taste of the fruit and the quality. So I think that we are a very small player. We have a niche in a huge market. Our supply is a niche, but the returns were very satisfactory.
Great. And in terms of your marketing window, does that run from when, October through to March, more or less? Or
a little bit later. We start in November with early fruit. We understand that all of November until about 5th and 10th of the 5th, the 10th of December, we have an air window that we can ship quite a high volume of air cherries. And then our season continues all the rest of December, January, February, and the last arrivals in March, and that will be our season. So there will be availability of Argentine fruit from early November to late March.
Oh, okay. And you mentioned the early window then. And what's the situation with the import protocol then? Is the fruit still have to be subjected to cold treatment, or is that been resolved?
No. I mean, China, together with other countries, they have recognized the Argentine Patagonia as an area free of several diseases and pests. So we don't need anymore this cold treatment or this food. This previous treatment, so we can ship directly now from Argentina to China without this prior 15 days of cold treatment at origin. This year could be, we are planning to do a little bit more because our winter, we are still in the protection of the orchards, because we still have frost until 1 more month at least, so there is some risk, but we are defending our orchards against the frost. But we understand that this year we will have a little bit more fruit than last year. Probably we can aim to reach about 7,000 or 8,000 if everything goes okay, and all of the fruit is protected. Last year we almost done 6,000. This year we could do, maybe we can increase a little bit more, like 25-30%. That's the plan.
And what proportion of this do you estimate will go to China this year? I know it's difficult to say exactly.
No, but we understand that about 50% will go to China.
That much already?
Yeah. 40 to 50%. I mean, we are not abandoning the other markets because we have a very good reputation in US, Canada, UK, Europe, etc. But China also requires certain fruit that and certain sizes that, of course, is not 100% of the fruit is suitable for that. But the Chinese consumers, what is really for us very challenging is that they are very happy with the taste. So I think that in the future, I mean, the trend that Chile has developed or has been satisfying in the last 10 years, we will go in the same direction because China is a market that is willing to pay high prices to the high quality, no?
Lovely. And finally, how do you see Argentina's potential sort of elsewhere in Asia, or is now the focus very much on China and it will continue to be?
Well, main market is China. I mean, the other markets we don't have access today to, for example, important markets like Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. Those markets are not open at the moment. So we are focusing on other southern and eastern Asian countries like Singapore or Malaysia, which the demand is not very important, is quite limited. So I would say 99% of our Asian destination is China.
Oh, okay, lovely. Well, thank you very much, Adolfo. You heard it here first, folks. The opportunity's there. Go and plant some cherries in Argentina. They've got all the everything you need. So
okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mara. Thank you. See you.
Our FruitNet China colleague, Jennifer Zhang, based in Shanghai, went out to the markets to speak to some of the big traders in cherries in China.
今年智利樱桃的预期总体来讲，在城市果品的角度来看，应该是还是不错的。我们可以回顾一下2020年春节春节当天之前，整体的销售在零售渠道，虽然它的批发市场价格也是很高，但是在零售渠道整个体量还是非常大。疫情一旦爆发之后，记得是初1或者初2，整个的销售就是完全停滞。今年在这个影响下面，大家可以看到，整个呈现的消费市场是处在一个恢复的一个阶段。顾客从一开始的购买能力相对来讲比较低，在慢慢的一个恢复。那从中秋的数据来看，从这个时间节点来看的话，整个客流量是有的，但是客单价的话，相对于去年会有略微的下滑。但是总体节假日的氛围还是存在。这是证明其实每年的节假日，国内的消费市场都是非常让人吃惊的。我相信只要是品质 OK 的东西好，这个东西是会有销售的。
这个市场有2个东西是可以给我们一个非常好的参考。第一个是上半年的流年，因为流年的增长跟车厘子的增长，几乎像是姐妹的品相一样，同时在中国爆发式的增长。那我们觉得说流年的行情可以给我们一些启示，就是上半年其实虽然在 Venus 那个季节非常严重的时候，但我们依然看到流年的价格还是在一个非常高的价格上运行。其实证明这一点呢，就是好的东西、好的产品的话，中国市场还是依然在打开门，在接受它们。然后根据这几个月的那个经济状况来看，经济数据来看，实际上我们对今年的那个樱桃季节依然还是保持一个谨慎乐观的态度，这个市场还是在增长当中。然后加上今年的如果按照我们现在预期量是5500万箱的来算的话，那其实我们觉得加上今年的那个 Venus 的那个影响，我们预期今年的价格肯定不会有去年那么高，但是也会在一个比较好的价格曲线之内去走。首先，我们会认为说， 如果中国人过不去，就会影响说整个樱桃的质量会发生变化，或者是包装什么的。这是第一点，就我们对智利樱桃的整个产业链已经成熟度已经很高，我们非常有信心。第二点，基于那个中国跟智利的我们这种生意模式的情况下的话，其实智利人跟中国人，我们一直在说为什么我们跟智利人能够做很好的生意，是因为我们那个中国跟智利人，我们可能有同样的生意的模式，就是大家总是会把relationship 放在前面，然后生意放在后面。我们已经有一个非常好的relationship，所以我也不会认为说，因为我们不过去就会影响到我们的relationship。那第三个的话，那其实我们每年过去其实也是去看一些信息啊，去了解信息。那如果现在，比如说现在我们借助 Zoom 啊，借助一些新的技术，我们每天也在开会啊，其实也是 face by face 开会。那这一块其实也是能够解决。所以整体来说，可能我们预计可能会影响一些特别小的小家，比如说拿着现金去场地买的小家啊，他可能去看不到货啊，不敢去买啊之类的。但是对于大公司来说，对于大的行业来说，基本上不会产生太大的影响。
当然，大家可能关注的一点啊，今年可能突出的一个点的变量，就是在食品安全性的问题上面。这个问题，因为我相信大家都是面临一个挑战，如果一旦发生了这个问题呢，就会很麻烦，就会导致整个智利樱桃的出口包括进口都会受到限制。当然，我们希望能够，当然产品在源头在产地能够100%规避这个问题。你要说在未来他们的消费趋势或者消费需求有哪些变化，我觉得可能应该在包装和法规上面。包装和箱规其实是蛮重要的一个上面，比如说像欧美市场、像美国市场或者欧洲市场，他们会有很多可供选择的零售包装，1公斤也好，2公斤也好，这种包括那种 clamshell 那种热塑的也好，或者是纸箱的那种包装。那在中国的话，其实也是可以完全适用，还是减少在终端零售的分包，是降低整个产品损耗以及控制整个成本最有效的一个手段。消费者以一个非常优惠的价格买到一个非常高质量的产品。整个中国的内部的这个进口生鲜市场是非常巨大的，从5年来看它绝对增长，但是这个增长的节奏能不能匹配得上，或者跟得上产地种植的节奏？其实水果生意就是一个供需关系平衡的一个生意。如果智利的当地的种植每年会以这种2倍、3倍，如果很夸张的这种形式来体现的话，可能会造成短期内的一个可能的收入预期啊，或者回报没有像前几年那么明显，但是从整体来看，我觉得对于智利果农来讲，这是一个还是非常不错的一个生意。
过去2、3年里面，去思考的更多的是国际形势的问题，或者是在贸易战啊，或者是中美之间的那个竞争啊，影响我们这种行业，其实是最基础的最核心的东西。如果说国际形势不会有大的变化的话，那其实我们对樱桃这个行业依然还是有一个非常好的预期。在春节期间，我们几乎找不到樱桃的竞争对手。车厘子在中国的市场在底层渗透在越来越高，所以我们看到市场其实依然还是在增长一个状态。所以起码在5年之内，我们不会有对这个行业，我们觉得不会有太大的关系。
Now, of course, one of the big things that have changed in China in recent years is the development of locally grown cherries. Our China editor, Yuxin Yang, spoke to Martin Salge of Dalian Qingqiuan about what's happening in the domestic market for cherries in China.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, Martin. We know Xingyuan is a major supplier of Chinese cherries. Can you give us a brief introduction of, what is the current scale of China's domestic cherry production?
The Chinese domestic production, cherries production, has nearly 20 years of rapid development. Last year, it was 420,000 tons produced in China. It's an increase of 23% every year. For the planting area, it's also expanding rapidly. With today, we have 200,000 hectares in China, and it's an average of 7% increase per year. The season starts in March for the greenhouse production and in May for open field production, and it lasts until end of July.
And the demand in China is really strong. In your opinion, what are the key challenges stopping domestic cherry production from developing even faster?
Oh, yes, because the cherry production is developing. But there is a new challenge recently, especially since 2 years. There is an evolution of the demand. The market requirements have changed. Now the Chinese consumers, they need more and more big fruits with a deep red color and crispy flesh and sweet, very sweet. The sweeter, the better. So Chinese growers, they have the necessity to adapt the production to face the increasing new demand. So that is the challenge now. They have to increase the productivity and the quality. In the same time, today, the production structure in China have problems to overcome. I can list some weak points of the production in China. It's, for example, the varieties, local varieties, original varieties, they are small fruits and thin skin. And they're very poor, they have a very poor transportation tolerance. So now, recently, they have to develop new varieties or develop imported varieties that can match with the demand. In terms of production, they lack the facilities able to resist natural problems like rain, frost, or hail. Also, there is an insufficient post-harvest technology in China, processing, storage, sorting, conditioning. Also, there is a lack of high-yield harvest techniques, which create loss during the harvest. So many these kind of problems to overcome if they want to face and they want to develop faster.
We know that the Southern Hemisphere cherry season is extending, and in the Northern Hemisphere, the US have some uncertainties at the moment, but there are more and more countries getting access to the China market. So in your opinion, how do you think the Chinese cherry should position itself in the face of all the competitions?
First, Chinese cherries have some advantages, especially first the season, and in May, July, from May to July, there is not many competition coming from abroad, and they have low prices. Imported cherries, they must keep a stable and high level of quality if they want to compete with the Chinese, because not all the Chinese, there are very good Chinese cherries also on the market. And the imported cherries' advantage is that they match very well with the new demand, and they have a better shelf life. So there is two markets in China. There are market for the rich people. Let's talk like this: rich people who it's a very good market for the import cherries, and there is the other market for the middle class, with, for example, the students. And these people, they go with the local cherries, for the local cherries, especially because of the price. But if the local cherries, they want to compete with the imported cherries, they need to, they should improve the quality of the variety. They have to be bigger, stronger, darker, and have sweeter fruit.
So what about the longer term? Are there still a lot of investment coming into the domestic cherry production, given all the challenges you've mentioned? And what do you think the industry will look like in about 5 years' time?
There is definitely more and more investment, private investment in this industry. And also important support of the local government for the development of this industry. So private investment benefit with the support from the local government. This is very important. We can see now there is already increase in the number of large-scale industrial plantings. The size of the plantation is increasing. Now we have open planting of more than 6 hectares. We can find planting park of more than 66 hectares. And we have greenhouses, for example, in Dalian or in Shanghai of something like 5 hectares, between 1 and 6 hectares. There is also a support for the development of new suitable production regions. The harvest techniques are modernizing, so the yield per unit is increasing. We have imported varieties already introduced, and also cultivation of local varieties that respond to the demand. This coupled with the development of scientist research for new varieties, we have seen an acceleration of the mechanization in the post-harvest process. This is very important, with more and more sorting machine in the packing house. We have seen an improvement of the planting technology, and the planting management. For example, with the use of water, the scientists and rational use of fertilizers. So regarding domestic production, it is improving. And I will not be surprised if the quality of some local cherries reach the quality of the imported cherries in the, let's say, in the midterm. Yes, definitely something that can happen.
This sounds very positive. Thank you very much, Martin.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Now, it goes without saying that technology, better technology, is crucial to the development of the cherry sector. Our Produce Plus editor, Matt Jones, spoke to Stuart Payne of GP Graders.
Well, Stuart, thanks for joining us here today. Your company, GP Graders, has been manufacturing grading equipment since the 1960s, over which time the capabilities of grading solutions have advanced considerably. Can you briefly detail the evolution of cherry grading through the eyes of your company?
Well, I guess the product design of the machinery is now being driven by the technological capability of the software, and I guess through history that's advanced the engineering aspects of the machinery. But you know, up until really the late 1970s, everything in our industry was mechanical. So it was just, everything was just mechanically graded by, you know, diverging belts or whatever it was. And it was in the 1980s that we saw the introduction of electronic weight grading. And that's really what trajected us on the path that we're on now. In the 1990s, we saw the introduction of just basic vision technology based nothing more than on color and size. And it was in the 2000s that we started to see the early development of defect grading technology. And it was really last decade that we saw the refinement of that defect detection in fresh produce. And with it, an explosion in complementing technology in camera development and computer speed. And so, you know, now it's become something of a technology arms race, and the better companies like GP Graders have evolved into that technology-driven business.
And looking specifically at cherries, installations for this category are a core part of your business?
Well, cherries are a very substantial part of our business, and GP Graders really pioneered so many of the modern developments in electronic cherry grading. We've used a lot of what we learned in cherries to other categories, and on the shop floor right now, we're building machinery for apples, for cherries, for blueberries, for loose grapes, cherry and grape tomatoes, and we've got some stone fruit machinery also, all with our new technology being fitted on it. So look, we've installed more than 100 cherry grading lines around the world. So yes, you know, cherries are a big part of our business.
How has the evolution of grading technology changed the landscape of the global cherry business over the last 20 or so years?
Well, it's entirely revolutionised the industry. I mean, you just couldn't short sell it. I mean, it is, you know, mechanical grading of cherries was much better than nothing, but it was still too inaccurate, and it had an inability to grade size to a elite level of satisfaction. So the ability to grade according to colour and size, which was only introduced in about 2006, was was extraordinary, and it had immediate uptake. The industry really changed from 1 year, from mechanical grading to electronic grading. It happened in that short a space of time. And look, GP Graders, we were the first to introduce defect grading to the industry. It happened on the 11th of December 2011. And I think that was the day that really changed the industry forever. It led to an enormous increase in processing volumes. Labour costs were reduced by up to 90% of what they used to be with mechanical grading. And the ability to separate quality grades to cater to really every different market and attain the highest price point in each of those markets has led to a substantial revenue gain. So, the packing house is being able to attack the cost end and gain from the revenue end. So really, obviously the bit in the middle, the profitability has expanded, substantially.
And looking to the future, how will new advancements in grading technology help to unlock added value for suppliers of cherries?
Well, GP Graders, we release our multi-view camera system next month. We launch our new software next week, which is GP Vision. It's a super easy to use interface, and it's very much directed at a lot of smaller growers that just can't afford that that expensive operator every year. And look, we've got a huge pipeline of technology we have in development, which we'll release over the next year, and that'll put us back in the #1 position in our industry. So in terms of the use of artificial intelligence in our sector, I believe will be the next big revolution. It's nothing short of an absolute game changer. And we have our new artificial intelligence platform, which is called Radii. And we released a test version of that earlier this year, and we just had stunning results. Some of the things that the algorithms in the old style of technology have never been able to detect, you can see them with AI, and you can train that software to be able to pick out some real nuances in defects, which are very, very hard to detect otherwise. And so we ran it, and we had some great results, and we very much plan to be front runners in this technology, and already we've had some very, very good results, and I suggest that you watch this space, because we've got some very exciting developments that we're releasing over the next year.
Are your cherry clients actively looking to invest in or upgrade their installations with the specific aim of targeting Asian markets?
Well, the Asian markets are very demanding in what they accept. They are mature, they're a growing market, but they are a mature market in that they now have a very discretionary view of what they accept from importers. Asia is just not a dumping ground for anything that you produce. They want the best, and you just can't get away with sending anything that's less than first quality. And so, technology plays a big role in that.
How have you navigated the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of manufacturing and supplying equipment?
We've been doing okay. None of our staff have contracted the virus, and it certainly hasn't interrupted our production in any way. We have seen some supplier delays, but we've been able to navigate through those. The difficulty has been travel, with some Australian state borders closing. and the Australian border being closed. But we have enough staff in South America and North America and Europe to be able to carry out support and installation. So it hasn't been a huge impediment for us.
And one to finish off on, do you anticipate demand for your grading equipment to increase as a result of the pandemic, if it hasn't done so already?
Yes, and we've already seen this in Australia with a big uptick in sales to address labour market shortages. In Chile, we've seen a big uptake in our new Vision software to replace our older software we used to use, just to remove sorting staff off the line. Chile is also undergoing a labour shortage, a labour problem. So again, a lot of this centres around the reduction or the eventual removal of labour. Our blueberry grading lines have really eliminated the need for sorting staff, and the interest we've had in these lines has been fantastic. But I think the big lesson from COVID will be an acceleration to automation. We're in a low interest rate environment. Borrowing is cheap, and if people invest in capital equipment, then the payback is very, very significant. So I'd suggest that it only accelerates an uptake of automation and vision electronics, and really just that replacement of the human hand and the replacement of the human eye for electronic vision and automated systems.
Well, thanks very much for taking the time to share these insights with us today, Stuart.
Thank you.
And so to Asia Fruit Logistica On. We talked to Kay Kwok, Marketing Manager of Global Produce Events, the company behind Asia Fruit Logistica On, about what is being planned for this year's exhibition that's going to be happening online from the 18th to the 20th of November.
Welcome to Asia Fruit Logistica On. It's the fantastic new digital platform for you to do business in Asia this season. Register, log in, then click on any of the 4 buttons to find out more. Explore is our welcome page. It's full of recommendations of people you need to meet and events you need to attend. Our algorithm uses your profile and your activity on the platform to suggest what's best for you. Content is where you see the full program of Asia Fruit Congress On, every single hall forum, and all the presentations by our exhibitors. There's a lot going on. Meet is where your networking and your business meetings happen. It's at the heart of our platform. It's right where you need to be. My Schedule is your personalized timetable of all your meetings and events. Meet. Let's have a closer look at how to schedule your meetings. There are 2 ways to schedule your meetings. Option 1. Under For You, you see the people our algorithm suggests you really should meet. To request a meeting, simply click on the Meet button and submit your request. It's as easy as that. Option 2. Search for who you want to meet by company, people, product, or national pavilion. Choose the presenter you want to meet and send your meeting request. Simple. Under Company, a detailed company profile, product image, video, and the main presenters appear here. Our personal concierge follows up closely to increase the meeting confirmation rate. Your personal agenda is updated automatically. Meetings only take place with both parties' consent. As an exhibitor, you can start placing your requests from early October. At the designated meeting time on the 18th to the 20th of November, a video meeting takes place with one simple click. Our chat and video function are also working around the clock to take account of the time differences. Want to exhibit? Here are our 3 exhibitor packages. On Business. On Business is our entry-level package. It includes 3 media products with either video and product images. You can have 2 company representatives assigned as presenters in the platform, and each can schedule up to 30 meetings over 3 days. That's up to 60 meetings per company. Simple, effective and affordable, On Business is the perfect solution for those getting started in Asia. On Premium. Suitable for a larger team, On Premium offers up to 6 media products of either video or product image and 6 company presenters, and each presenter can schedule up to 36 meetings over 3 days. That's more than 200 meetings per company. On Premium also provides a rotating banner under Meet and includes up-ranking of your company and presenter profiles. It means your details are profiled under Meet. On Corporate. On Corporate offers maximum exposure with up to 14 media products of either video or product image and maximum 20 presenters with an unlimited number of meetings. All the up-ranking features and rotating banner from On Premium, plus a 20-minute presentation on content. Special for this year is that all exhibitors can get free access to Asia Fruit Congress On. Our visitor pass costs €34 per person and grants access to Asia Fruit Congress On, hall forums and unlimited meetings with exhibitors. Visitors with a voucher code get to register for free. Register now at Asia Fruit Logistica On. It's where the fresh produce business in Asia meets. Let's be on. See you in November.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on today's Asia Briefing. I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to join us this time next week, 2:30 p.m. Singapore China time, when we're going to be looking at the prospects for European apples in Asia. Thanks for joining us today. See you next week. Goodbye.
Hi, my name is Laura Martin, and I'm in charge of subscriptions at Fruitnet. I want to tell you about Fruitnet's new digital magazines. They are free to download, and they offer a range of news, interviews, and industry analysis. You can access them online to read them live, or download them to read them later. They work on your smartphone, your tablet, and your computer. If you subscribe already, just go to the App Store, Google Play, or desktop to download the app. If you want to become a subscriber, please get in touch. Email me on subscriptions@fruitnet.com. In the meantime, this is a short video that explains how the app works. It's really easy. So give it a try and happy reading!
Asia Fruit has recently launched its new digital magazine. You can now read your favourite fresh produce business magazine and catch up on the latest news via your smartphone or tablet device. The new app allows you to share stories within your network and has a handy search function to filter news you're looking for. You can also download new and previous editions of Asia Fruit to read them offline. All Asia Fruit subscribers have access to the new Asia Fruit app, and if you do not have a subscription, contact our team today to organise one. The new user-friendly digital edition has been created by the same people behind apps developed for The Economist, The Independent, and other leading publications. So don't wait any longer. Asia Fruit app is now available to download free from the App Store and Google Play.